My voice is kind of soft. People complain. So if you cannot hear, raise your hand. I can raise my voice. Okay. Thanks a lot for coming to today's event, and thanks for your introduction. Sharing a little bit more about myself in relation to this topic. I started my career as an educational psychologist in Korea, identifying the gifted and talented students and providing some counseling to the family members like that. And then ever since I came to Hawaii about 16 years ago, I have involved in a lot of projects serving the students with disabilities. And about like a decade ago, like 2014, so we got the first award from the USDOE, Jacob Javits Gifted and Talented Education Program to serve twice exceptional students. And ever since then, we got the 3 awards from the Javits Grant. So we are so fortunate to serve those exceptional students in Hawaii and in the Pacific. Well, I also have 2 family members who were recently diagnosed as having ADHD and autism spectrum disorder, like within 2 years right now. And I mean, that really expanded my perspective about serving this population. It has been my lifelong mission to serve those population. Well, and we did a quick survey about your familiarity about this topic, and we learned that about 75% of the attendees actually haven't heard about it or they slightly know about the exceptionality. So I prepared this presentation to go over some foundational knowledge about the concept. Here is the USDOE education disclaimer. Basically, it means that the information I share today do not necessarily reflect the USDOE positions and policies. It's our opinion, not the DOE's opinion. All right, this is today's agenda. What are the twice exceptional students? So we'll learn about what is twice exceptionality, and then we'll learn about who are these gifted neurodivergent students. And we'll learn about how we can identify these students and what are the best approaches to them. Before proceeding, maybe you have the pipe cleaners on the table, right? Picked up the pipe cleaners? And maybe you can, some people really think better when you are moving your hands, right? Let's see, you are the type of the learner. Okay, so pick up your pipe cleaners to create the 2 objects. You can make a concrete object or the action object. That's totally fine. It's up to you. So you needed to create 2. One about what you are interested in or what you are good at it, and another about what is challenging to you. So here are some photos that my daughter created the day before yesterday. So on the left side, she thinks that she is really enjoying listening to music. And then the right side, can you guess what it is? Like all the ZZZ, that means that she's enjoying sleeping. And on the bottom, so she's angry when I'm asking her to do again and again. She doesn't want to take that. So she's angry about that. So maybe while you're listening to the first portion of the presentation, so you can start to create those 2 objects, and we'll have some time to share each other. Okay, what is it twice exceptionality? So, probably to some of it, it's a really new term, right? But actually, it has been around since the inception of the gifted education field. About 100 years ago, in 2023, the mother of the gifted education, Lisa Hollingworth, coined the term gifted. And she also mentioned that some highly gifted students demonstrated learning difficulties in her first book. And in 1944, you all heard about Asperger's syndrome, right? So Dr. Asperger defined it a new personality disorder at that time, and he recognized the students having a high intelligence tended to have such a personality disorder. And actually, from the 1970 to 2000, So there is a lot of influence from the federal legislations, right? Most of you are familiar with those acts, right? In 1975, Education for All Handicapped Children Act was passed to mandate the free education for the students with disabilities, right? And then in 1977, actually the first book written about serving the tax exceptionality was published by the CEC, the Council for Exceptional Students, Exceptional Children. And at that time, the name, the label for those population was gifted handicap. And following after that, in 1978, the Gifted and Talented Education Act, called the Javits Act, was passed. And since then, since 1980, there have been some public education programs for the gifted students with a learning disability. People often call them a GLD population. And then from the 1984, Javits grants have been awarding the projects serving those populations as well too. It has a long history now, right? And people often interchangeably using the Asperger's syndrome or the high-functioning autism to call the population. However, being high-functioning doesn't really mean that they're having above average cognitive ability all the time. And then also the being low-functioning doesn't mean that the students don't have any strengths. They haven't discovered yet, but they have strengths and they have all the abilities too, right? So naming the pupils' ability like linearly, like high functioning and low functioning, is not really describing the complexity of this population. So we needed to move beyond the terms. So from 2000, in the national, federal, and state policies, people started to use the language about tax exceptionality. And actually, in 2004, IDEA reauthorization acknowledged that the student with a learning disability can also be gifted. And it was from the 2000s, several states actually published policy to serve those populations. And actually 10 years ago, in 2014, so all the professional organizations gathered together and they made the formal definition about the tax exceptionality. So currently, people are using the 2E, twice exceptionality, multi-exceptionality, and neurodivergent to call those populations. As you see on the picture on the right side, there are a lot of combinations of the disability type and giftedness like that, yeah? According to the National Community of Practices that gathered together in 2014 and 15, here is a definition about the tax exceptionality. When we first started our project teams, which was funded by the Javits grant, but we didn't have the definition about the official definition about the tax exceptionality. But back in 10 years ago, they got together and put together this official definition. The tax exceptional individuals have either exceptional ability and disability, and to tax exceptional students who may perform below, at, or above grade level require the following: some special method to identify those populations, and some enriched or the advanced education approach, and then also the method, the support strategies to serve the areas of the needs. And they also needed the simultaneous supports like intervention and therapy and social emotional supports as well too. Here are the 14 disability types under the IDEA, right? So among those disability types, we are focusing on the neurodiversity this time. So neurodiversity would mean that the neurological wiring is different. So it was first coined in 1998, fairly new, by the Judy Singer. So it's based on the social model of a disability. It means that it views neurodiversity as a normal variation of the human development. And so we needed to advocate for the accommodations or support to address the mismatch between the individual skills and the environment. So after this, my presentation, there are like many presenters who will go deeper and dive into the topic about and help you understand the neurodiversity better. So I will skip over the slide now. Yeah. And well, are you done with your one offset? No, not yet. Are you still working on? Still working on. Okay. All right. Then we can get to it a little later then. So what I want to do is that you can pair up together and show your offset, which represent your strong areas and talk together, okay? So you can continue to work on and we can come back to the activity later, okay? What is the prevalence of the tax-exceptional population? Can you guess? Anybody has a guess? Already on the highlight on the slide, but the NAGC, that's a National Association for Gifted Children. They project it's about 6% out of the special education population. And another research center, Berlin Black Center at the Iowa University, so they are projecting it that the gifted exceptionality may affect about 6% of the gifted education population. So kind of 6%, but it's about the academically gifted population having disability. So it's a kind of narrow, and the percent may be like increasing when you're counting the all different types of giftedness though. I don't think you can actually see all the numbers here, but I want to highlight that how significant the tax-exceptional populations were under-identified. So it's going to be about like 40,000 to 183,000, whether you apply the NHC's estimate or the Berlin Black Center's estimate, the number is really strikingly high. And it will actually in Hawaii, so we only identified about the 0.12% of the gifted education, 0.12% of special education students as having the giftedness as well. So it's really, we needed to do more to identify those tax exceptional students. Here are the 4 cases. So as you see, like the columns there, so giftedness is recognized or the unrecognized, and disability is recognized, unrecognized. All the combination make the 4 cases, right? And then there is also a case that the misdiagnosis, right? Sometimes gifted autistic students may be misdiagnosed as having an ADHD and vice versa like that. So there is a lot of misdiagnosis as well too. And then thankfully, those who are identified having a giftedness as well as disability are served well under the maybe 504 plan, and then under the IEP, there will be a note about their strong areas in their plans. Also, do you have any questions so far about the tax exceptionality? Any questions? Are you good to move forward to the part 2? Are you ready to share your offset? Okay, good. So I will give you about like 5 minutes so that you can pair up and introduce yourself, where you came from, and why you are coming here, what is your name, and what is your strong area. And when you listen to your peers' strong area, give compliments about the elaboration of the object, creativity about the object, and the articulation of the descriptions like that, okay? We can get started. I will give you 5 minutes. Yeah, did you get to know each other now? And did you give some praise to everybody's strengths and what they are good at it like that? Okay, well then let's get to the part B. Well, actually, while we are going through the part 2 of the presentation, so now you needed to work on the second offset, which can represent your areas of challenges. So now you can work on the second offset to make something about your challenges. Okay? Alrighty. Let's get started again. Okay, so part 2 is about who are these gifted neurodivergent students. So we made the script available under the slide, so hopefully you can see it though. Okay, so who are these students then? Well, I don't think you can actually see the figure up here, but it would mean that the characteristics of a student with various diagnoses often overlap. So you see those like all the circle in the middle, there is a description about the commonality. So everyone will have an access to the PowerPoint slides later. So you can take a look at what are the common areas later. So sorry that the word is so small here. And a student can also be multi-exceptional, having multiple diagnoses plus giftedness. Okay, so here are some common behaviors we often observe about this population. So inattention, impulsivity, and refusal to write, and the poor social skills. Those are some common behaviors that we often observe from this population. But you can probably now guess what is gifted, what is neurodivergent, okay? Okay, when you see some student inattentive to your talk, is the student bored because of the insufficient challenge? It's too easy to focus. Whether it's the student unable to focus. You may see some students blot out, right? Then does the student blot out answers for quick processing and copious knowledge? Whether does the student have an executive functioning deficit in response inhibition? When you see a student who refuses to write, like my daughter, so is it because of the perfectionism associated with the giftedness? They don't want any mistake on the paper they refuse to write. Whether is it about the learning difficulty in written expression? That's not just their best method of the expression. So when you observe some students having some poor social skills, you may also ask, is this student truly unable to interact socially with peers? Whether does this student have nothing in common with that? So due to their giftedness. So when you observe some behaviors, you may need to ask yourself, to find the reasons behind their behaviors. So it's a very complex area, yeah? And then here are some examples about some characteristics of the gifted student with learning disabilities. On the left side, you can see all the strengths they have. They may have the advanced vocabulary, but they may fail to complete assignment. They may have the advanced problem-solving skills, but they may lack of the organization skills. You may not actually see their problem-solving steps, right? So in the right side, you can see how it can be manifested in the classroom. In math, the student may have a strong mathematical thinking, but the student may grasp some concepts very quickly. But the student may have difficulties in calculation, in basic facts, and showing the work, and doing some number sense things. In your writing class, the student may be very creative, has a lot of good ideas, and having a lot of vocabulary in talking. And in the writing as well, the student may show strong voice. And the student can add unlimited details about the topic if that's their interest area. But the same student may have a difficulty in organizing ideas, giving thoughts on the paper, and mechanics of the writing, grammar, and paragraph structure. So when you see the submitted assignment, you may not be able to tell whether the students have a giftedness or the student having a learning disabilities. Here are another example about the gifted autistic students. Well, gifted students also have some difficulty talk about their emotion. So mostly because of their attentive memory, they have a good memory about their affections and then their emotional intensity. Generally, when they are given an opportunity, they are able to show both cognitive and affective empathy. And autistic students usually struggle greatly in identifying somebody's emotion, right? And they have difficulty in expressing their own emotion as well too. But the autistic gifted students may easily explain or repeat the emotion of a fictional character in the book of their choice. They can explain what the character is feeling. And they can also understand and talk about emotion they see others may experience. For instance, when there is a student who was bullied, they can actually empathize the student feeling. But they are struggling to verbalize their own emotion. So especially when it's in the emotionally heightened state, and they can lack cognitive empathy to inform what others would feel. So even if they can empathize the others' feeling who are bullied, but when they got into the debate with their discussion group peers, they may not really regulate their emotion. They may not tell about how others are feeling in their group. Here is another example. It's very hard to distinguish whether this is autistic or the gifted. Gifted students, autistic students, and autistic gifted students all have strong interests in some areas. But usually gifted students have several areas of the interest, and autistic students tend to stick with one or two areas of the interest. And when there is an opportunity to talk about something outside of their interest area, they may not engage well. But the autistic gifted students may show such a tendency too, but they may be able to switch their conversation, they'll switch their attention and talk about something else as well too. Here is an example of the gifted ADHD students. So, students having the ADHD, so when they are really often distracted by the external stimuli, right? So they cannot regulate their level of focus during the non-preferred activities, especially. But the gifted students, they can regulate their level of focus with minimal distraction, oftentimes. But even if the topic is not of their interest, they can maintain the attention. But some students having the perfectionism, so they may have a difficulty in switching some topics because they want to complete the things about the topic before moving on to the another. So gifted ADHD students also have high interest areas, and they can concentrate better in these areas. But they may have a wide range of the interest, so that they may be distracted because they want to have all different topics. That's why they may be distracted. Here is another example of characteristics of gifted ADHD students. So, when a student is given the repetitive tasks, so both gifted students and the student with ADHD may be frustrated, but the reason is a little bit different. For the gifted students, they often frustrated with the drill and kill assignments because they already mastered the concept. It's nothing new, so they got bored, so that they're frustrated, right? And then the ADHD students, it's really hard to follow all the repetitive tasks without the prompting or the support. The gifted ADHD students, those who having both, they significantly resist with the repetitive tasks because they know that it's difficult to follow through and regulate their attention. So they expect it, so that they are really resisting those tasks. Have you ever met such a person? And how do you know that the person is twice exceptional? So I will give you another 5 minutes so that you can talk within your group. So you can talk. You can share the individuals that you observed in your classroom or in your workplace, like that. That you can switch some ideas. Okay, did you guys share some stories now? Okay, let's go back to the how we can identify these students. Yeah, sorry for interrupting. We have a tight schedule, so we can probably share more during the lunchtime as well too. Okay. Okay. How can you identify those students? So, those who are not familiar with the U.S. special education system, there are two ways. Is a student tax exceptional student can get some accommodations about their disability. So one is that having the medical diagnosis and getting the accommodation and modifications through the Section 504. So the student also needs to get the educational diagnosis in the public school system to get their accommodations and skip special education services under the IP, the Individualized Education Plan. So there are two ways for those tax exception students get the accommodations or the Individualized Education Plan under the public education purview. But it's often challenging. So because tax exception students may be performing at a grade level or the slightly below grade level or the slightly above the grade level, but it's still far from their potential, right? But even so, IDEA doesn't explicitly support providing services for tax exceptional students unless their achievement grossly lags behind that of their same age peers. So, if the tax exceptional students, even though they have needs because of the disability, the student may not get the services from the public school because their performance level is not low enough. That's some difficulties that the tax exceptional students experience at the school. So here is some ways to identify the tax exceptional students. It's a kind of traditional method utilizing the gap between the ability and achievement test scores. So they are utilizing multiple resources to measure the ability or the achievement, but mainly what they are measuring, what they are trying to get is that the significant gap between the ability and achievement. So tax exceptional student may have a spiky profile as you see on the screen. So having lots of peaks and valleys within their ability areas and within their achievement areas as well. Well, maybe their math scores is very high, but their English language pass score is very low like that. So people often say, they are not good enough for the gifted education classes, or that they are not low enough for the special education classes like that. Here are some challenges utilizing the intelligence test to gauge the student ability. So I'm utilizing the Wechsler's scale as an example. It's often used to assess the student ability level. So I'm utilizing that one as an example. So student, as you see in the last slide, the student having the tax exceptionality may have a low working memory. So, it will be impacting their executive functioning skills or the following the multi-step instructions. And also the tax exceptional students may also have low processing speed. So processing speed means the ability to receive, interpret, and react to information. So tax exceptional students may need extra time on assignment or tasks or slower conversation pace to process the information that are shared. So usually there are two composite scores provided by the intelligence scale. In the Wechsler's scale case, it's a general ability index and then full scale IQ test scores. So rather than utilizing full scale score, it's better to utilizing the general ability index. So the general ability index doesn't really count the processing speed or the working memory that the tax exceptional students usually are not really good at. But here is another innovative way that we have been utilizing for our Jarvis grant-funded projects. We are giving an opportunity to the students so that they can experience and then see if that's the area with their potential or the areas of their strength. So that's our approach. Here are the 4-step identification model. So the first step, we are trying to increase the community awareness about the populations. And then second step, so we are looking at the school norm, local school norm, rather than the standardized tests. We are looking at that. We are looking at user C or higher in STEM subject. And we are also looking at the community norm. So even if the student may not perform at the school, the student may be participating in a community activity really well. So we are recognizing their potential shown in the community as well too. And then we are training the personnel who can be part of our selection committee. And we also ask them to recommend some students they can see around them as well too. And number 3 step, so we are selecting students based on the multiple resources. Students may have a different ways of expressing their potential and interest, right? So we are taking account the personal essay, speech, portfolio, and then teacher with added recommendation. We also accept the pattern recommendation as well too, and the problem-solving performance and doing some interviews as well too. And then the culturally competent STEM talent such committee is such a long name. We have a committee members who know about the disability, who know about the STEM field. We are get together to select the students. And those students who go through the step 3 will be in our program, and they will have an opportunity to try out whether this is truly the field that they're interested in. And after that, we are just internally cross-checking their performance and identification information with the national norm reference instruments. Just to check if we did a good job to broadening the inclusion criteria for tax exceptional students. Here is some a checklist about the tax exceptionality. So it's not like a screener, so don't take it as a screener, but it's a checklist that you can utilize that. So you discussed some cases of tax exceptional students within your group, right? So maybe checking that the students show such a general characteristics of tax exceptional learners. A student appears smarter than the grade or test scores suggest, and the student has a sophisticated speaking vocabulary, but they're not good at writing. A student participates well in a discussion, but they may not follow through. And the student may be having an uneven academic skills, maybe good in math, but not good in the writing like that. And then the student may perform well with the challenging tasks, but they're struggling with the basic easy tasks. And the student may be better in math, reasoning than the computation. A student may have wonderful ideas, but the student may have a difficulty in organizing those things. And the student may have a great sense of humor, but they may be used to distract the other students from the teacher. And the student may understand concept very easily, but they get frustrated with the performance requirement. A student may be tired very easily due to they have a high energy. Are they fitting to your characteristics? Your case is characteristics. Those are the general characteristics. There are a bunch of different characteristics you may observe about the tax exceptional students. Okay, so what is the best approach? So other presenters after me will talk about the approaches or the strategies that you can utilize with the tax exceptional students or the neurodivergent students. So I will not go deeper dive about the approaches. And we are also preparing the sessions to go deeper dive about those strategies. So I will just give one strategy. It's a strength-based approach. We needed to focus on what the students are strong about, what they are interested, what they are good at it, what they enjoy spending time about. So utilizing those strengths to tackle the challenges. Some common strengths of tax exceptional students include openness to experience, holistic or the global thinking, visual spatial thinking skills, logical thinking, creative and diverse thinking, and comfort with the technology. those are kind of common senses, but our tax etc. students may demonstrate multiple different strengths. So you needed to approach it person to person, not a general approach. We can go back to the twist activity again. So are you done with your another figure representing your change area? So pick the figure and talk with your peers, your pairs. So how can you tackle the challenges with your strength? So for my daughter's incident is she's really interested in music, but she doesn't want to be told to revise her writing again and again. So, but she agrees to revise her writing again and again if the topic is about the music. But she can be really describe a lot of things, elaborate everything about the music that she likes to listen to, right? So think about the way that you can tackle your own challenge with your strong areas. Strong areas can be your interest, or your skills, your talents, or how you are spending time most like that. So to talk about that. I will give you about 3 minutes to talk about it with your pair. Here is a wrap-up and some announcement. So we created the peer website. You see the peer website. Well, you got all the swag items, right? The swag items has the website information, www.hye-peer.org. So we put together all the projects we are doing with our research team, and it's all in the peer website. In the peer website, we're gonna announce monthly events, which is about the neurodiversity topic or the transitional topic. So we'll prepare the monthly virtual sessions, so you can get more information about these topics later on. So those who signed up for the conference, this is symposium, so we'll send you some monthly virtual session information so that you can continue to engage in this conversation. And another thing is that our staff members are setting up the booth right in the right side. So we are currently recruiting the Tier 1 students who will experience our hands-on science activities. So we are looking for the culturally linguistic diverse groups having the disabilities or neurodivergence now. So if you live in Hawaii, well, Oahu, Big Island, Lanai, and if you live there and if you know somebody who knows you want to recommend joining our program, please see our staff members right there, Kendra's baby hat, so you can recommend the students and then get the flyer and share with your neighbors and your community. And we are also starting our recruitment of the students in American Samoa and CNMI, tentatively in April. So our team members here, our CNMI team members, maybe raising your hand, there in the table. Our American Samoa team members, so where are you now? All on the same table. So they're here. So we're gonna do this wonderful work together on those islands. So that's the wrap up of my presentation today. Hopefully you got to think about this topic more and continue to engage in this conversation. Okay, thank you. I will hand over to the next speaker.